You're watching Byline Wilmington on CBS 10 WILM. Here's your host, Don Ansell.
We're talking about swine flu and this pandemic, this worldwide epidemic that we're sort of in the middle of. Our guest is local infectious disease specialist, Dr. Paul Konietzka. What caused this panic about swine? I mean, it is a panic. Is it because it spread so fast?
Well, I think that there are several things. One is that, when we first started getting reports out of Mexico of people with this influenza illness, Mexico as well as in the southwestern United States, the reports were of a very severe illness. People were dying of this illness. They were on ventilators, on the breathing machines in hospitals. So it appeared to be clearly, at least initially, something very different than what we were accustomed to seeing with usual influenza.
It originated in Mexico?
We don't know exactly. It originated in North America. And the first cases did appear to be in Mexico. First death occurred in Oaxaca, Mexico. But then, largely because of air travel, it spread like wildfire to the United States as well as to all around the world. In fact, it's been said of this pandemic that you had faster spread within 6 weeks than you had within 6 months for any previous pandemic. And I think the major difference is air travel. And a testament to that is one of the first countries outside of North America to have an outbreak of H1N1 was actually New Zealand.
Really?
So far away from North America, and yet
because of air
travel.
People traveling there.
Exactly.
Is that how flu travels around? People travel and they pass it before they realize they're sick.
Right, and in tropical areas of the world, flu is there all year round, and it tends to be seasonal in the winter months here in the northern hemisphere and in the summer months in the southern hemisphere. But there's always some circulation of influenza, and if you have a virus to which the population has susceptibility, then you get an outbreak of flu.
Other flus, the seasonal flu that we usually experience, where does that start?
Okay. Well, the major, there are actually 3 other seasonal flus that are circulating now. One has been circulating really since 1968. The last pandemic of flu, 41 years ago.
Was that Asian?
That was the Hong Kong flu in 1968.
Did we call it Asian flu?
Asian flu was 1957.
I remember
the previous one.
Okay, okay.
But the Hong Kong flu in '68 was H3N2, and that's been with us since that period of time. The other one that is seasonal is H1N1, just like the pandemic H1N1, except this is the old H1N1, which was present in this country from 1918, from the big pandemic, until 1957, when it became extinct. But it was reintroduced into the population in 1977 as a result of a lab accident release, accidental lab release that we believe that occurred in Russia. But that did not spark a pandemic because there were enough people who still had immunity against that. So, but it is part of a seasonal. And then there's the third one is influenza B, which also is a minor component of usual flu seasons.
And you said they originate usually in the bird population, aquatic birds. I think
aquatic birds are
yeah. How do they make that jump to humans?
Well, they often they can go either directly to
humans.
They
meaning the virus.
The virus, right. To humans. More often it's thought that the pigs are actually the sort of the mixing bowl, because pigs actually have what we call receptors, binding sites for the virus in their respiratory tract for both bird viruses as well as human viruses. And then you can have a mixing to produce a virus that people can get.
Can host.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You said we're going to have other flu, the seasonal flu in this area in addition to
that is correct.
Swine flu.
We will have some seasonal flu, although it appears that the bulk of the flu we will see over the next few months will be the pandemic flu. And if we look at the southern hemisphere's experience over the summer, remember that summer is flu season for the southern.
We didn't have a flu. I mean, the swine flu was it didn't have a season. It started and it just roared.
That's right. And if you look at the number of flu cases, you have the usual peak starting in December and should end in March, April. But this year you saw a peak going up and then it just kept on going. And that next peak was all pandemic flu.
It has nothing to do with cold weather, does it?
No.
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 Some people say, oh, the cold weather's coming. We've got to be careful of flu. It's just a coincidence that's the cycle.
It's,
Yeah. How are we doing in this area? What are we seeing as far as?
We're seeing a moderate amount of pandemic flu and expect that it will continue to increase in number. So all of us in medical practices and at the hospital are preparing for that.
But I mean, you're seeing
oh, yes.
a number of cases.
Oh yes, yeah. And most of the cases are going to be mild. But the key difference between the pandemic flu and seasonal flu is who it impacts. And pandemic flu primarily affects young people. So kids,
really?
Yeah, kids and young adults, and this is the similar pattern to all previous pandemics. It's the young people who get disproportionately affected.
Do we know why?
Well, again, because
they haven't been exposed?
Exactly. And so actually there's evidence, usually, for example, with seasonal flu, 90% of deaths from seasonal flu occur in those who are 65 years or older. And usually
seasonal, but in swine.
In swine, it's the young kids, young and middle-aged adults. And generally, anybody who's born before 1957 is not likely to have any cross-protective immunity.
How are we doing as far as other parts of the country? I mean, you said we're having a number of cases, or other parts of North Carolina. Are we high? Are we?
The Southeast has really been real high over the summer.
It has.
In fact, North Carolina is just over the border, but South Carolina and below had widespread flu activity all the way through the summer. And now we're starting to pick up some more again. So.
If you get swine flu, H1N1,
right,
are you immune to it?
To that particular virus, yes. But we're dealing with a very wily target. The flu viruses keep mutating, so if your immune system recognizes one flu, but then it changes, then it's no longer going to specifically recognize the new flu. You may have some cross protection,
right? And it may not be as severe because of that.
Yes, because of that, but you're still going to get ill in that circumstance.
We're hearing reports that a vaccine has been developed. We're going to talk about that when we come back.